We're really pleased that you were able to join us this morning. We're going to share with you some data. We're also going to share with you our plans for the months ahead as we begin to recover from the challenges that COVID-19 has had on our community, on our world, quite frankly.
Everybody's muted.
We hear you, Amanda, I believe. If you have a question for us, this is not verbally interactive, but if you have a question for us, if you use the panel on the right side of your screen, there's a place where you can ask a question. Feel free to ask questions of our panelists today. We're happy to try to answer those during the call. If we don't get to them, if there are too many that we can't answer during the hour we've allotted for this, then we will get back to you since we have your name with your question. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Philip. Down St. Germain is our research vendor. They provide consumer data and also survey you about occupancy each quarter. But in this case, they have done some very specific research for us. We did this in partnership with Sarasota County, but we're looking at key markets, both in-state and a couple of out-of-state markets, to check on consumers' sentiment during this time. And Philip will tell you a little bit about that, but our first wave of research with consumers was about 3 weeks ago. And then we've done a second wave last week, and you'll see some differences between those two timeframes. As I always say, all of our decisions are driven by data here at the VCB, and this is a good example of data driving them. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot. I'm supposed to share the STAR report first. As I've been doing with you on the call each week, I share a slide, I share verbally the STAR data. So I'm gonna turn off my cam and we're gonna just go to the slides now. But want you to see the latest STAR report. These are weekly reports, and I've been giving them to you each week on our calls. You see, when we began March, of course, this is before any of the stay safe at home orders. You see the strength in tourism that first week, 85.7%, and ADR at 231.23, RevPAR just under $200. And you see what's happened in the weeks that follow. The good news is the last 3 weeks, occupancy has been ticking up. We hit a low in occupancy. You'll see they're circled on the week of April 12th. That was, of course, the low in RevPAR too. But you will see that ADR has continued to fall a little bit. I think that's probably to be expected a bit. When we started this, we were in the height of season, and now we're into shoulder season. So I'm not as surprised to see ADR falling, but I think when we'll probably see that again next week. But then obviously as the coastal hotels are permitted to open, I think we'll see probably that bounce back a little bit in terms of the ADR average. And just for context, remember this is all of Lee County, and this is the properties that STAR tracks. But I think it's good data for you guys. Again, for the week of May 3rd, 28.7% on occupancy, 74.81 on ADR, and a RevPAR of 21.51. With that, now I am going to turn it over to Philip Downs from Down St. Germain, and Philip will talk to us about the consumer sentiment research.
Good morning, everybody. Philip Downs, Down St. Germain Research, and as Tamara mentioned, we've been doing surveys of consumers from origin markets for Lee County, and we're going to be sharing those results with you today. We did the first survey back in mid-April, and we did another wave in early May, and we interviewed 350 people in each wave, and we were basically asking them about their feelings about traveling and their feelings about travel-related marketing. And Amanda, I'm looking for the buttons in the bottom.
Hi, good morning, Philip. I'm on a different computer this morning, so you should be able to use your arrow keys or the mouse. The buttons are kind of very light gray at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen.
Okay, very good, thank you. So let's get right into some of the results.
On the sides, it looks good.
Here are some of the key takeaways. And consumers are concerned about safety, and they look primarily to the CDC to tell them when it's going to be safe to travel again. And trust in the CDC remains high, but it's dropped down a little bit from mid-April to early May. Consumers feel safer now than they did in mid-April with respect to travel in general, but they specifically feel safer now going to the beach, staying in hotels, going to outdoor attractions, and going to bars and restaurants. They look for signposts as to tell them when it's going to be safe to travel, and they look primarily to large attractions, retail, and restaurants. Here we see the results from mid-April to early May. If you look at the top set of bars, the lighter blue is mid-April, the darker blue is early May. And you can see that trust in the CDC as the indicator of when it's safe to travel remains high. It dropped a little bit in early May. State government and federal government trust is second and third, but down considerably from the CDC. And somewhat interestingly, one's doctor is not trusted as much as state and federal government. In terms of where they feel safe going right now, the beach is number one, and it was 29% back in mid-April. It's jumped up to 38% in early May. And as you go down that graph, you see jumps with respect to all travel activities. For example, back in mid-April, only 17% felt safe going to a hotel. Now 25% do. And I'll direct your eyes down to the bottom two bars on this graph. Back in mid-April, 61% of the consumers out there didn't feel comfortable doing any of these, but that percentage has dropped to 45% by early May. This is a major indicator that consumers are becoming more optimistic about travel. They're looking for large attractions, restaurants, and major sporting events. When those things open up, then they're going to feel safer about traveling. When is it going to be safe? Well, back in mid-April when we surveyed, the median date was July 17th. When we surveyed again in early May, that date jumped to July 23rd. But when you look at the time between data collection and the median safe travel date, that was 90 days back in mid-April. It's dropped to 76 days by early May. So consumers are becoming more optimistic. If you look down at the bottom of that graph, you'll note that about 1 in 5 consumers will not feel safe taking a vacation this year. Here are some other key takeaways. There is considerable pent-up demand. Within a month after COVID-19 passing, 3 out of 5 consumers are ready to hit the road and take a vacation. And they're interested in going to places like yours, where there are beaches and other uncrowded areas and places they can drive to. And 2 out of 5 of the consumers we surveyed said they would visit Southwest Florida beach destinations. So let's take a look at the data. Back in mid-April, the light blue bar, 61% said that they were going to take a vacation within a month after this is all over. That percentage has remained virtually unchanged. Where are they going to go once it's safe? Well, they prefer to drive. And that's why your marketing is going to focus on nearby areas. They prefer uncrowded areas and they prefer beach areas. And those percentages have remained stable from mid-April to early May. Many have begun planning. You see kind of a bell-shaped curve from June to September, where we have over half the people planning to vacation during that time. And then if you look towards the bottom, we see about 2 in 5 who are just not planning vacations for the rest of 2020. Which destinations are they considering visiting? Well, Southwest Florida beaches, 4 out of 10. That's greater than even the Orlando area or the Miami area. And within the Southwest Florida beaches, Lee County leads the way. And those results are very stable from mid-April to early May. Some other key takeaways. With respect to marketing, they're ready to see normal destination advertising now. There's been a major jump from mid-April to early May with respect to people's willingness to consume destination marketing. They want to make sure that you're telling them how safe it's going to be once they get there. We ask a question about travel media interaction. Are people reading travel magazines? Are they going to travel blogs? And there's been an incredible increase in travel media activity from mid-April to early May. Let's take a look at the data. When is it going to be appropriate for destinations to resume normal marketing? Well, you see a normal curve starting around mid-May, starting now, and tailing off in late summer. So now through late summer, it's going to be a good time to resume normal marketing activity. And then we have a small minority down at the bottom who are not ready to see it until next year. They want to know what you're doing to help during the crisis. But if you look down at the bottom of this graph, the percentage who don't want to hear normal advertising during this crisis has dropped from 44% in mid-April down to 18% in early May. So within a matter of 3 weeks, the percentage of people who said, hey, I don't want to see any of your advertising, dropped considerably from 44% to 18%. That's a very positive indicator that it's time to get back into the marketplace. The messaging that they're looking for, they want to make sure that they're going to be safe. So you need to tell them about the fact that you're prioritizing safety, that you have safety and cleaning protocols in place. Here's the question about travel media interaction, and I'll take your eyes down to the bottom of this graph. Back in mid-April, 45% of consumers had not interacted with any travel media. That percentage dropped to 33% by mid-May. So within 3 weeks, that dropped 12 percentage points. Other key takeaways. We asked people to describe in their own words how they felt about traveling right now. And back in mid-April, scared, unsafe, not ready, dominated the word cloud that was developed from those words. By early May, we still saw those same words, but then words like ready and good and excited started to pop up. They're going to feel more comfortable in hotels than in vacation rentals when they start traveling. And about half the people out there have been impacted financially by COVID-19. And the net result of that is they're going to take fewer and shorter vacations. And people are traveling now. 11% of consumers we talked to have traveled in the past 3 weeks. And somewhat surprisingly, more of that travel has been leisure than work-oriented. Let's look at the data. So here's a word cloud that was generated based on what people said their feelings were about traveling right now. So you see unsafe, scared, not ready right there in the middle. But you start to see words like good and excited, ready pop up. We didn't see those words in mid-April. We saw them in early May. As I mentioned, they're going to be more comfortable in a hotel than in a vacation rental. And they're interested in seeing, when they visit, the cleanliness standards. They're interested in seeing staff cleaning the common areas on a regular basis. They're interested in seeing social distancing directives posted around the property where they're staying. And over half want to see hotel staff wearing masks. So all of these safety activities scored fairly high, most of them above 50%. The focus needs to be on safety. When they start planning, they're going to be using destination websites and searching on Google, trip planning. Most of these are fairly similar to pre-COVID figures, except there's more focus on destination websites now than previously. When they get to the destination, they're going to be using Google and apps. They're less likely to go to visitor centers and stop by kiosks. Again, they're somewhat concerned about interacting with other folks. Half have been affected financially by COVID-19. We've got another 4 in 10 who are not certain at this point, but the net result in terms of travel is they're going to be taking fewer and shorter vacations. We see 1 out of 5 are going to skip vacations entirely this year. But then again, at the bottom, we have another 1 in 5 that COVID-19 is going to have no impact on their vacation behavior. 11% have traveled in the past 3 weeks. Slightly more have traveled for leisure than business. The folks we interviewed, here's an overall profile, but the profile fits the profile of typical visitors to Lee County. That ends our presentation.
Thank you so much, Philip. I know I've seen that there's one question about, will this be made available? We will have this webinar posted to our website after the webinar concludes. We are recording it as we said we would. And so we will be posting this so that you can look through these again at your own pace. So just so everyone knows. With that, Brian is going to share with you a bit about how we're going to take this research and a whole lot of other research and make good marketing decisions. So Brian Osowski, will you please share with us the phased marketing strategy we are about to, or that we have already embarked on? I shouldn't say we're about to. We're deep in.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Tam, and thanks, Philip. Those were fantastic insights. So as Tam mentioned, we are on this road to recovery, and to help wrap our heads around it, we have broken it down into phases, and that's some of what I'm going to talk to you about today. Sorry about that. So what we'll cover, our objective. We'll touch a little bit on traveler sentiment. We'll talk about the 4 phases of recovery, the crisis communication roadmap, our target markets, a little bit about our media strategy, and I'm going to end with a really cool national co-op that we're participating in called Where Can Travel Take You? So let's get started. So our objective for recovery: to execute impactful in-recovery strategies to encourage inspiration and to keep the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel top of mind for forward-looking travel planning as COVID-19 begins to subside. So as you saw and heard in Philip's presentation, there is pent-up demand. About 60% of people surveyed are eager to travel for leisure once the pandemic passes. We've seen a 130% increase in online conversations about needing or wanting a vacation. And 82% of travelers said they were ready to see travel offers again, which is really, really good if you're a marketer, tourism marketer. So let's jump right in and talk about our path forward and the 4-phased approach. So Phase 1, wait. This is what we've all been dealing with since mid-March. We've been quarantined and we've learned about social distancing. As a brand, as a destination brand, we've been tasked with creating an escape for people. And we've done that. We've included or added a virtual experiences section to our website so that people could maintain their relationship with the destination and, of course, have something to look forward to. We also needed to be empathetic because we're all in this together. So for the last couple of months, we have executed our Stay Well, Stay Home campaign. But now we're getting ready to cross over into phase 2, the ready phase. We've been assessing the impacts of COVID. We're entering the travel conversation again. Our role as a brand is to provide inspiration and relevant information to would-be travelers. And we're slowly beginning to incorporate calls to action in our messaging. And we will talk more about the ready phase in just a little bit. Following is set. People are comfortable going back out in public. Our role becomes strongly encouraging people to explore. We're providing hope and optimism and giving them reasons to believe. And we'll become more action-focused in our efforts. Finally, phase 4, go. This is when people are free to travel with the new normal. Businesses are open. And as a brand, we will create value-based offers and packages, deals that we like to call it, to help give people an extra reason to make the decision to travel to the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. We'll also promote a sense of belonging and community, because for a lot of our visitors, this is a very familiar place. So when you look at everything there on one screen, we've passed or are about to exit the wait phase and enter the ready phase. And there are some of the high points of each phase of this strategy that we'll be working on. So this is our crisis communication roadmap. And I know I don't want to scare anyone with all of the information that's on this screen. So I'm just going to touch on a few of the boxes here. First of all, just to reiterate, this is where we are right now. We've been in the wait, in crisis mode, and we're crossing over into the ready recovery mode. What are people motivated by? They are looking forward to returning to their normal daily routines with a renewed caution. For us as a brand, we want to do exactly what Philip said and make sure that we understand safety and health precautions and share best practice information with our partners. We also are beginning to drive awareness of the destination, again, entering that conversation and giving would-be travelers an opportunity to consider us for their vacation. Our messaging will be inspirational, informational, and we're going to encourage people to plan ahead. As we move further into the set and go phases, I'm sure we'll have this same sort of conversation, but for today, I would like to focus on ready. So what determines the ready phase? There are a lot of pieces of data, a lot of things going on that we've been paying very close attention to. There on the left, you see the macro issues that we're monitoring. Are stay-at-home orders lifted? Which of course they have been. We're paying attention to travel regulations, both nationally, from the governor's office, and locally and regionally. Businesses are beginning to open, even though they're dealing with some new restrictions. And we're also watching those infection rates, which can be a little bit tricky because now we have a lot of testing available. So naturally, the more testing that takes place, the more positive cases that we'll find. On a micro level, we have social listening in place. There is a lot that we have learned from social media. We've been monitoring search demand, our website metrics, of course, consumer travel sentiment, and booking demand. All of these things are giving us reason to believe that we are ready to move from wait into ready. So what does the future hold? The future of travel right now is undetermined, but we all have been participating in a lot of webinars, listening into a lot of conference calls, and the experts are saying that there is a bright future ahead, but it's not going to happen overnight. Right now, the traveler insight is social distancing and stay-at-home orders have forced us all to adjust to new normals. Our interactions with people are limited, mostly digitized. I mean, we're on a webinar this morning. Several restaurants have been forced to close their doors and travel has nearly halted. So people have that pent-up demand. They're looking forward to getting their lives back and envisioning their future travel plans, escaping to where they feel comfortable and fulfilled. So we try to take that and break that down to what our ownable insight is, our ownable opportunity as a destination. The beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel is an open island getaway that naturally fills people with hope and optimism. The feeling of openness obviously is important because we don't want people to feel that if they decide to take a vacation here, that there's going to be crowds, that we'll be on top of one another at the beach. There's plenty of room for everyone to spread out. We included the word island here because while we do have beaches and there are a lot of Florida sun and sand destinations, we have islands that people can explore, and island hopping has always been a favorite consumer experience. We worked the word naturally in here and the words hope and optimism as mentioned before. So moving forward with this insight, we had some decisions to make. Where will people be coming from? Where should we place our marketing? How far will people be willing to drive to the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel? So here's where we've landed. Right out of the gate, it's going to be important for us to reach our drive markets. And I think it's important to say that drive markets have been redefined. And we've broken those down into 3 buckets. First, 250-mile radius of Lee County. That's very close to home. You know, most people can make that drive easily in 3.5 or 4 hours. So about 40% of our recovery marketing out of the gate will be within 250 miles of our destination. Then we go out a little bit further to 250 to 500 miles, and then 500 to 750 miles, which also includes the Atlanta market. So while drive markets are going to be super important, while people are reemerging, they're learning about travel safety, our cleanliness protocols, and all of those things, that doesn't mean that we're going to ignore our primary domestic short-haul fly markets. You know, we have a top 10, a top 12 list that several of you have heard me talk about over the years. And we're going to integrate those fly markets into our messaging. But we're going to do it smartly because we understand that if there's no flights available, then it really doesn't make a lot of sense for us to spend too much of our budget until that lift comes online. So we are monitoring those flight schedules. So when it comes to budget breakdown, during recovery, about 85% of our budget will be spent on those drive markets, 750 miles or less from Lee County, and about 15% of the budget will be allocated to the fly markets. Reaching people in the right mindset is more important than ever before. You know, you've heard me talk a lot about reaching the right person with the right message at the right time. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. So we took a quick look at where we're going to find our visitors. Let's take a little bit of a peek at how we're going to reach them. First, I want to share with you some really amazing media stats. We've all been at home for the last couple of months, and the way people are consuming media has shifted. Connected TV has increased by 60%. Video consumption, about 2 hours per person per day. There's been a 20% increase in podcast listening, a 40% increase in Instagram stories. And this one, I've told this story a couple of times. Just a couple of years ago, we were at an agency meeting talking about digital display advertising and really thought that it had become a thing of the past. Click-through rates were down. We feel like, a lot of our digital ads were adding to the messaging clutter that's out there. Not so. Since people have been at home and have been in front of their screens, multiple screens and devices, click-through rates for display advertising has increased 70%. Ultimately, there is a huge demand for content right now. Media sites across the board, news, TV, radio, have seen spikes in site traffic as high as 17%, or I should say an average of 17%, because some others, the New York Times and others, have seen even larger spikes. So I'm going to walk through various channels and what our strategy is for each. Keep in mind this is high level for the sake of time. For broadcast, we are shifting away from traditional television. However, we'll maintain terrestrial radio or broadcast radio. But it's important that we utilize the evolving technology that's available to us and the digital extensions to maximize our reach. This allows us to really leverage our targeting capabilities and define what our ROI is. It also allows us to pivot much more quickly than traditional broadcast channels allow for. For out of home, we've seen great success over the years with digital placements, and we will place brand identifiers in highly trafficked areas of some of those key drive markets within the 750 miles that I spoke about a couple of minutes ago. We also have some robust mobile and social campaigns that will be taking place, and so we will sync this digital out-of-home effort with those mobile and social campaigns by geofencing those devices so that we can, know that people were exposed to our out-of-home messaging and then continue to serve up messaging relevant to their travel plans. I mentioned podcasts. Podcast was added to our media mix this year before the pandemic because they've been on the rise, and there's new ways to be able to insert our messaging into podcasts, much the same way that we have the ability through connected TV and through digital programmatic. We can target our audiences, captive audiences, I might add, because they're choosing to listen to those podcasts. And the nice thing is that right now they're not cluttered with a lot of advertising. So our messaging really rises to the top. We're excited about what we can accomplish with podcasts. And you saw that listening over the last couple of months has increased about 20%. Social is sort of at the heart of everything that we do. Our paid social advertising continues full speed ahead. We've never pulled back. We've only adjusted our messaging and our content. And looking forward through the phases of recovery, our content will focus on that recovery and future travel planning. And we also have a very robust influencer program that has been in place for the last 2 or 3 years, and engaging with influencers to have them help spread the word, share our messaging, our brand identifiers, Influencers will be part of our social media strategy through recovery. Digital and paid search. We are expanding our in-state and drive market targeting. We're making sure that our paid search keywords align with any travel and stay-at-home restrictions. We're constantly monitoring that to make sure that beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel comes up in the search results when we need it to, and of course we want it to be accurate. Finally, we're going to continually work to showcase our destination as a responsible travel authority. You heard Philip mention that when people start making their travel plans again, they're going to look to the CDC to make sure it's safe, and then they're going to look to destination websites to see what's going on in our area, to see any safety protocols, to learn about our flexible reservations. And we want to make sure that the information that we're providing is accurate and that they can trust us. So integrated media. Integrated media are packages that we have purchased, invested in with national publishers such as Smithsonian, National Geographic, Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast, the New York Times, Afar, and many others. Our integrated media was actually already running before the pandemic hit. So we were able to be flexible. We were able to go in and adjust our messaging. And moving forward, where it made sense, we paused some of this media. But as we sort of bring it back up to a speed and align it with all of our other recovery strategies, our goal hasn't changed. We're looking to really maximize our budget and reach visitors through high impact integrated partnerships with premium publishers. Because these are more of a national or more on a national level, we'll make sure that these are phased to align with those fly market efforts. For groups, we'll continue to maintain our existing presence with publishers. This is one area that, much like social, we never paused. We just adjusted our messaging because groups and meeting planners are working so far in advance. We felt like, we wanted them to know that we're here for them, to help them plan when they're ready and when their clients are ready. Also, we want to be sure to ensure that their planning timelines align with our destination's venue availability, because the last thing that we want to do is invite meeting planners, to a venue that's not booking or that's not open. So there's a lot that goes into this, but we felt that while leisure, we, had to pause a lot of things and redirect a lot of things. It was important for us to keep our group meetings and travel trade business running consistently. For international, as our international sales manager, Stephanie Zinka, will tell you, this has been tricky. We are monitoring macro issues to assess when our marketing should relaunch internationally. We want to make sure that our strategy is aligned with that of Brand USA. And of course, we're all data geeks at the VCB. We are leveraging data to understand how advanced purchase windows are changing. Things internationally, it was pretty consistent from Germany and Canada and the UK. You sort of knew what those advanced purchase windows look like. But now under the new normal, we're not so sure. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Many of you on the webinar this morning probably participate at some level in our co-op advertising program. And as you know, we typically roll out our co-op program in August for the entire year. So the fiscal year starts October 1st. We roll out co-ops in August, and you go into the portal and you make some of those decisions. Well, now, because we think it's important that our partners, or for our partners, to participate with us in the recovery efforts, we're actually preparing 2 waves of co-op. Right now, we're looking at June through December as wave 1, and then January through the rest of the fiscal year, September as wave 2. And what this allows us to do is to sort of separate some of the special recovery initiatives that we're rolling out with some of our tried and true successful co-op programs. Obviously, this can be fluid, it will be fluid, and so that if we get to January, let's say, and we've experienced setbacks, obviously we have the flexibility to pivot some of these programs on behalf of our partners. The co-ops will maintain strategic and tactical alignment with our brand messaging. And again, as you probably know, if you participate, the VCB buys down the price of these ads sometimes 90%. So there's incredible cost savings at the same time that you're able to reach people with your recovery message. More about that in the very near future. So I'd like to end today with a national co-op that we are participating in with 8 or 9 other destinations across the US called Where Can Travel Take You? I think this is a pretty good spot. So I'd like to read this to you real quick because some of these feelings and emotions and sentiment is also or are also going to be threaded into our recovery messaging. In a time when we've never felt further apart, travel can bring us together. It's when we're at our best. It opens our eyes to new ideas. It gives us hope. Travel has never been about where we can go, but what we can bring back with us. Our memories and moments are still there and ready to take us places. So the headlines that go along with that: where we travel is just the beginning. When we travel, hope is sure to follow. And the more we travel, the closer we get. So this national co-op will roll out next month. So some key takeaways from what you've seen this morning. We are increasing our digital ad spend and incorporating platforms that allow us to be able to pivot quickly. One thing that the VCB has learned is that as we go through the different phases, things happen or are happening much more rapidly than we've had to respond to in the past. And so in order to be able to pivot quickly and make sure that we have the right message to the right person in the right place at the right time, digital is the way to go. Traditional advertising has too long of lead times for us to be able to make smart decisions. As you heard Philip say, it's going to be very, very important that we promote feelings of safety and flexibility right out of the gate. Travelers want to feel safe, and they really want to know that they have the flexibility to cancel reservations if they decide that's best for them and their family. So feelings of safety, flexibility, hope, optimism, and happiness are what we'll be promoting throughout the recovery. And right out of the gate, first, we're going to look for customers closest to home as people are starting to get out and about and travel again. And that's what I've got for you this morning. And Philip, myself, and Tamara are all available to answer any questions that you might have.
I see there's a question, and I'm going to read the question so everybody hears it. What, if anything, is being done from a marketing perspective for small to medium group and meeting business? And Brian, I know you talked a little bit about the meeting business. I believe Jill's on the call, and maybe it's better to defer to her, but you know, our team has been in constant contact with their meetings clients, the meeting planners, and you know, doing check-ins obviously during this time with them. Very important to keep those contacts up. They've been rescheduling booked business. And Jill, if you're on and can unmute yourself, perhaps you could go ahead and answer that question.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Jill, I'll let you answer the question.
Certainly. As Tam said, we have our initial need was to help with the cancels and then rebooked business, of which we helped our partners with. About 83% of the cancels from March to June have been rebooked. In addition to reaching out to our industry partners and our clients, we have interacted with about 2,700 meeting planners during this wait period, and have gotten great interactions, stayed top of mind. We've also sent out a special edition of our quarterly meeting planner newsletter, which showcased heartfelt community stories, which also got a great deal of reaction, positive reaction from our clients. And right now we're working on that client care package that we'll be sending out, personal protection equipment, we're hoping it to be, and we're going to have it all logoed. And we're also working on virtual FAMs, so we can still introduce our meeting planners who have not been to the area to the destination through these virtual FAMs. And that's it.
All right, well, I think that helps answer the question. Brian, anything to add from the marketing perspective? I mean, you know, we had, you know, some key placements and some meetings publications, meeting planner publications. You know, we have webinars and such that we do to speak directly to the meeting planners, and those activities have continued. So Brian, if you have anything to add, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too.
No, just wanted to say, Tam, that you know, we have had to sort of compartmentalize our marketing efforts between consumer and group. And you saw where I reported on social that, you know, we never lifted. We stayed part of the conversation. You know, we adjusted our content. It's the same things with meeting in groups. You know, as Jill mentioned, I mean, sales is a very relationship-driven business, but the marketing team is happy to help and support sales efforts with some paid placements, as you said, Tam, and we were able to change our messaging accordingly. So yeah, proud that the groups, meetings, and travel trade business, at least on the marketing side, is going strong. I also wanted to add just a couple of things. They weren't in my presentation. One of the other things that the VCB collectively is working on is a partner toolkit that has some operational best practices, has some messaging strategies, some content suggestions, and we've tried to break that up between the different business segments that we have: accommodations, attractions, and restaurants. And the entire team has been working on that, so that will be available very, very soon. And one of the other fun things that we're working on, obviously you heard me talk about how important it's going to be for us to reach potential visitors within that 250-mile radius. We're building out a landing page on our consumer website to basically promote this idea of a nearcation. You know, we think people are going to be driving, they're going to be taking short trips of 3 or 4 days. And so the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel want to be the place for them to take that nearcation. And last thing I wanted to touch on that I'm really happy about was one of the stats in Philip's presentation. You heard him say that just 3 weeks ago, 44% of people did not want to be marketed to. They didn't want to hear from a travel brand. They didn't feel that it was the right time to be sharing travel advertising. And in just 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks time, that number has dropped to 18%. So as stay-at-home orders are lifted, as businesses are opening up, as new protocols are being put into place, these are all indicators that people are ready. They're ready to get out there and get out of the house, even if it's just for a few days. So really excited about that stat.
Tamara, if I may add, the data from our sentiment surveys show that there's growing optimism about travel. And Lee County fits exactly what people are looking for today. They want a drive destination, so your marketing focusing on a 250-mile radius is spot on. They're looking for a place that has beaches and lots of room to operate. So things are all pointing in a positive direction, and I would expect the next month is going to be an interesting one as long as we keep the COVID numbers down.
Okay, we have a few more questions that I'm going to read off, and I'll let whomever is most appropriate to answer the questions. Question about co-op. It says, since the advertising message is changing, I'm wondering, how does this impact the co-ops we signed up for last year for 2020? Will you adjust the messaging and honor our buy-in? So Brian, I know, we've had to put some of our co-op messaging, some of those placements on hold, but will you address how we're going to handle things going forward? And then there's kind of a follow-up. I mean, it's not a follow-up to that question, but it kind of plays into it. It says, when will we see the co-op programs and what will be the deadlines to sign up? So maybe you could just kind of answer those two simultaneously.
Sure. Well, the timeline is still being worked on, but well, let me back up. First of all, we had a summer campaign and there were a lot of partners that had some summer co-op with us, and we felt like, everyone has sort of pulled back, and we wanted our program to be flexible with our partners. So we worked with our agency, MMGY, and our co-op rep, Elizabeth Escribano, on this, and the media team, of course. But first and foremost, out of the gate, we were addressing summer. So we sort of pulled the plug on our summer co-op plans. We offered refunds. We offered co-op credits. Of course, we wanted to be flexible. And now we're looking at fall. So the idea here is, yes, we had some existing co-ops in place for partners for the fall time frame, which I say fall, so I don't want you guys to think August or September. When we start marketing for fall, that's really, at the end of June into July for fall travel. So that's why we decided to split these co-ops. Let me go back here. I think I have screen control. We split these co-ops into 2 phases, into 2 chunks, one for the remainder of this calendar year, and then for next fiscal. So the question is, yes, we're flexible. Yes, we will be activating those fall co-ops if they make sense for recovery. And we will ask that whoever participates aligns their messaging with our brand messaging, so that we're all, together on this, right? But what this also means is we were planning on launching a brand new co-op portal for our partners prior to the August rollout. That won't happen now probably until the first of the year, because we want to be able to populate our existing co-op with all of those recovery programs. So as soon as that happens, we will make sure to let our industry partners know. But again, we want to be flexible, and we want to give good advice and make good programs available. I hope that answered the question.
Well, if not, the person that asked it maybe can ask a follow-up question. You know, I think you have to understand that, you know, these are different times. And so we certainly, you know, are trying to abide by the things we promised you, but also not use your dollars unwisely. And so that's really where our minds have been focused. There are several more questions, so I'm going to read a couple more of them. Let's see. We have one that said, will there be any events, and specifically songwriters? And I wish I had that crystal ball that could tell me exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we are certainly proceeding in our mind that songwriters will happen at the end of September. But there may have to be some alterations to the way songwriters is carried out. One thing we are doing and hope to launch here shortly is some sort of teasers for Songwriters Fest called Songs from the Couch. And so we will work with some of the songwriters who will be coming to Lee County to do Instagram story takeover. I think I have that right, Brian, isn't it, on Instagram?
It is. It's on. It'll be on Instagram Live on Thursday, May 21st. So 6 days from now. Songs from the Sofa with our first singer-songwriter. Wait, I better not say that. I'm not sure it's been officially announced yet. But we have our first singer-songwriter in place for next Thursday evening.
So we are very serious about continuing on with that. We know how important songwriters is to that September timeframe, and how critical getting September business is for us. We're certainly not going to give up on it, but we do recognize that there may have to be some changes, some venue changes. If we're still, under orders for social distancing, that's going to make a lot smaller number of people able to be in the restaurants and bars that we normally, host these events. So, but stay tuned. Like you, we are trying to follow every safety guideline that is available to us, and we're just going to have to be. I keep telling my staff that we're Gumby. We have to be flexible. Some of you are probably too young to know who Gumby is, but for those of us that are a little older, Gumby is made of rubber and Gumby is flexible. So be Gumby. Let's see. So that was the songwriter question. Next question, will Philip be doing the survey again so we can stay on top of how the consumers feel? Absolutely. Again, we did this in partnership with Sarasota County. That cut our costs in half on the expense of doing this research. And we committed to do at least 5 waves collectively. And of course, if this goes on beyond the time frame for 5 waves, we may choose to do it on our own if Sarasota County doesn't have the resources to join us in future waves. But we're kind of using the activations the governor is putting in place to guide when we send out another survey. So when the governor shifts to more openings, then that, and people have time to adjust to that a little bit, then that makes sense to do the next wave of surveys. So we're trying to use those reopening announcements as guidance for when we do the survey waves. Let's see, what is the next question? Timelines for the various recovery periods. Boy, that's a bit of a crystal ball. We're using that consumer sentiment, the things Brian talked about, the searching, the activity, flight resumptions. Many of those things we're using as tracking to help us determine the right time to shift gears. I think we all agree we're very, very close to launching ready. We think we probably will do that in the very short term, be shifting from wait to ready. We're kind of in between those two right now. We have the resources to do that and plan to do that, but really the pandemic itself and the measures that the government is putting in place for stay at home. And remember, just because things get relaxed here in our area, use what's just happened. The governor shifted all of the state except Dayton-Broward into phase 1. And now he's announced that he's shifting Broward County, Dayton-Broward County as of Monday will shift into phase 1. So even though it may be changing for us, it's not changing everywhere, and it's not changing in some of our key markets. So we're having to really follow the activity, the political decisions that are being made, and the safety decisions that are being made to guide those timelines. But we pledge to keep you informed as we make those shifts. So let's see. I think we talked about the co-op programs. FAMs. Jill, I'm going to defer to you because the virtual FAMs is in your arena. The question is, how will the virtual FAMs work? What will be incorporated? When will these be conducted?
Well, we're still in the planning phases for that. We're still trying to work out the logistics. So as soon as I have all the details, I will be happy to share that. And we're hoping to go around and film little 5-minute segments of various attractions and hotels, but we haven't really worked out the exact logistics yet. So stay tuned.
All right, well, that answers all the questions. As always, staff at the VCB is available to you to answer any additional questions you may have. As we said, we've recorded this webinar. We will be posting it online. I pledged to you we were going to get done in an hour. It is a couple of minutes past that 1 hour, but we're going to go ahead and cut things off now. Email us at vcb@legov.com. Any additional questions you have, we appreciate your time today, and we will continue to keep you informed. We're going to shift back next week to our regular conference calls, and look forward to engaging with you then. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.